think probably the piece of kit that's changed for me recently would definitely be the machine. As I said before, I think it's changed. It really has changed how I worked from the outset of just middying up drums and putting everything together. So yeah, outside of that, I think probably, you know, working quite intensely in a computer, doing everything in the box as opposed to outside of the box is a big sort of transition. But I've been doing that for a while, and mixing in the box. I tend to sometimes go out of studios and work in big studios with a friend of mine, Pete Hoffman, at my loco. So we get to use the sort of big desks, like mostly a Neve, and I've used SSLs, a couple of other bits and pieces. And ideally would love to have a desk in here if I could kind of return to that kind of mixing, because I miss the sort of punch in, punch out, sort of liberated freedom, the freedom of just doing stuff on the fly and having happy accidents. It's a little bit harder to do that. You've got to preempt everything in the computer. But I have ways of trying to recreate those happy accidents with the computer. Mostly of that is sort of recording with live musicians. I record with live musicians in the live room, so predominantly I work with a guy called Martin Bradford, who's a cellist, composer. So we do a lot of writing together and record either the silent cello, which we record in here, obviously because it's you can cable it up, and we run it through little Fender guitar amp and stuff like that. You can get some pretty interesting things. And then when we use the actual cello, the wooden high-body cello, we'll record in the other room and mic it up that way and play through from there. And also work with a guitarist that we sort of do both, record from in here or set up amps and record everything in the other room. Recording point of view, up until recently, probably in the last 6 months or so, I would come in the studio sort of Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5. I'm not really a night, I've never really been a night studio person. I think it's one of those things, especially having kids, where you have to keep sort of normal hours. And now I'm working with Defected. I'm in the office a couple of days a week, so my studio time is numbered a little bit, but I've actually started working on laptop when I'm traveling, which I never used to do, running ideas and things like that, and then coming in the studio with more complete structures of things that I've got, either comping sounds or music like that. But I tend to find now that my time is so refined that I can actually come in and work on something and get it done, because I've worked all the problems out in my head before actually making the music itself. So I have less time, but I actually think I've got kind of better results out of that, really. The biggest obstacle that has probably been a hindrance on my career has been to not make enough music like the music that I actually play out. I get inspired by the music that I play out, and then I come in the studio and try to make things that I think, oh, I'll play this out. But then I get so attached to the records that by the time I come to playing them out, I usually am critically tearing them apart. So the actual idea of playing things out would just be, I don't know, it's a bit of a battle for me. There are certain things along the way that I've played and I thought I'll just get over this hurdle and play it, and then I think, oh, that actually sounds quite good, and I'll play things and they fit in my sets. But I'm not one to sort of replicate what other people are doing. I like to do something completely different, and I think in some respects I probably would have been a more well-known DJ if I had just made music like the music I played, but it's just not in my capacity to do that. This is the live room, which is where I have assorted bits and pieces. The records are starting to take over, as is always the case, but yeah, a couple of old drum machines, a weird echo, delay thing that does some good, almost sort of Roland space echo, sounds off of it is quite erratic and interesting, and can be really noisy. Old DR55, which has seen slightly better days, but some kind of sounds come out of it. Bentley Rhythm Ace, which I've just had repaired. Again, I feel a bit bad with these things because you can kind of get all those samples and put them all in, but that does do something that you can't really replicate. But once you've recorded it, you've got it, so it becomes a bit more of a museum piece. Some old DBXs that I've hung on to. Again, with modern DAW systems, you can't, using gate and compressors, there's so much stuff on UAD cards that you can use that are equally, or if not better. So again, sort of museum pieces, a couple of old bass guitars, an old drum machine that belongs to Mr. Derek Carter, which I keep promising to take back to Chicago with me, but that's great actually. It's got a built-in sampler, you can sample snare drums and stuff like that, but it's actually a really cool drum machine. An old Freaks, travelled the world with us drum machine, the Roland Hansonic, which is great for adding sort of, when we used to perform as a band, as Freaks, that was kind of my job. Look like I was doing something important, we'd be able to play their congas and stuff and the percussion off of that. It's actually a great, I still use it actually. It's something that I'd probably always hang on to. Again, old Roland Rhythm Arranger. I pull that out every now and again. That was the drum machine that was responsible for Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight, actually. Special fact there for you. Roland 626. Some other kind of weird bits and pieces. I've got TR55 and old Elisa's drum machine, and then my new DJ setup, which is the Pioneer with the USBs. So I still have my turntables in the other room, and I tend to sort of record a lot of stuff and then put everything onto USB for travelling, etc. Which is, I feel like a big cheat, but it's actually quite an easy way. My shoulders have been so much better since I've not had to lug records around. And then mad old Russian replica mic, and I've got a couple of other things like weird biodynamic directional stuff that I use for recording the cello, and other guitars, amps, etc. And then yeah, there's still the old beast which gets fired up every now and again running OS 9. Got a lot of old Freaks music and stuff on there, so I still sort of go back to source files and things like that. And there you have it.